Mary Jane Richards, known popularly as Mary Bowser, was born enslaved in Virginia, but she still found a role in the Union Army as a spy. Richards was recruited by her slave owner's daughter upon his death to join an espionage ring generating intel for the North. In her work, she spent time inside the so-called Southern White House, the home of Jefferson Davis, remember, the self-declared president of the Confederacy. She was searching for documents and other information. Richards also spent a great deal of time in the Southern legislature, where she gathered information that she shared with Union generals, who cited the espionage ring's work as instrumental. Apache women often focused on the home and the children, but LOZEN, an Apache woman born in what is now Arizona, chose to be a healer and a warrior instead. In the late 1800s, as the American government encroached on native lands, she rode alongside her brother to fight against the invasion. She was a celebrated fighter with a mind for military strategy. One of the most famous legends about this very real woman says she delivered a baby in the middle of the desert while the U.S. cavalry gave chase. LOZEN was a longtime friend and ally of the famed Apache leader Geronimo and fought alongside him in her final battles. They were arrested together by U.S. law enforcement in 1885, and she died in prison of tuberculosis just 2 years later. Virginia Hall wanted a life of adventure. After a hunting accident in her young adulthood resulted in the amputation of her leg, though, she wasn't sure how she would have that adventurous life. But it found her anyway, in the form of espionage. Hall lived in France at the outset of the Second World War, and she originally drove an ambulance. But chance and a little luck found her in England, where she quickly became a spy, sent into Nazi Germany posing as a journalist. The American earned a reputation as an expert in disguise, transforming herself multiple times a day and evading capture by the Germans, who knew her only as the limping lady. Hall served multiple tours across Europe and became the most highly decorated female civilian of World War II. Margaret Burke White's weapon of war was not a gun or even a knife. Her contribution shed light on the war in a new way. Burke White's camera brought new perspective to photojournalism. She was the first female photojournalist for Life magazine, where she presented images of the Great Depression. But it was her work on the battlefield that cemented her place in history as the first known female war photojournalist. During World War II, she was the only foreign photographer in Russia as the Germans invaded, and she went on to photograph the liberation of Germany several years later. She also famously chronicled the partition of India and Pakistan.